What's up, guys? Welcome back to another TheSportUniverse podcast. It's me, Brian, and I'm joined with Nick.
What's going on, guys?
All right, so we have a lot to discuss, so I guess we'll just get into it. We'll start with baseball. You want to start with baseball?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
So later on in baseball, Brian's going to go through, MVP candidates and stuff like that. I'm just going to start off with the Yankees since, I don't know if you guys can tell through this podcast, but I'm more of just a Yankee fan, not a huge baseball fan. I do like baseball, I just don't follow it as much.
And I'm more of just a Jets fan and not a football fan.
Yeah, so, we try to cover each other's bases. But in terms of the Yankees, Yankees news, the Yankees decided not to extend Didi Gregorius, which I am personally not in favor of, and oh my god. I'm watching the Cowboys Vikings game right now, and they're inside the dome, right? I think they're playing at the Cowboys Stadium, and the kicker just absolutely wide left. I don't even think he hit the net on the field goal.
Kickers have been bad this year, but we'll get it. It's fine.
Yeah, I digress. So they didn't extend Didi Gregorius. They really don't want to pay him what he's wanting, and I don't know. I personally like Didi Gregorius as a player and as a person, but and my roommate Liam, he's a huge Yankees guy, follows everything Yankees. And he makes a lot of good points. Like, he doesn't add enough to the Yankees for them to extend him and the money that they're going to pay him. When all they could do is just shift over LeMahieu and shift over Glaber and then find a first baseman.
The one thing about that is that, DJ LeMahieu had a really good season, but I feel like it might just be, a fluke for him.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. And we've had Didi for years.
What?
We've had Didi for years now.
Yeah.
So, 2, 3 years now?
Yeah, and he's been good every season for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm so iffy on that. We'll see what comes out of it. I'm hoping they somehow find a way to keep him, just maybe for a lower price than he wants, where they can meet in the middle.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's looking like the Yankees are not even going to offer him, and they're just going to try to move on, which kind of sucks. But we'll see what happens out of that. Secondarily, looks like the Yankees are going to let Romine walk because, again, for the same reason, they don't want to pay him what he's asking for. I think Romine's a really good backup catcher, and I think it's pretty obvious that Gary Sanchez, for whatever reason, cannot handle going X amount of time in a row playing, or he just falls off. As you see heavily in the playoffs because the games are all back-to-back. So, yeah, I don't know. I like Romine. I'm more willing to let him go, even though I like him. Because
he's the backup.
For backup catcher, he's a backup catcher. You can always find another one of those, especially when you're the Yankees and you have X amount of money to pay people. Mm-hmm. So that's from my situation. And then finally, in terms of actual news, Encarnacion, the Yankees are gonna let him walk, which I'm pretty happy about. He was not a big addition to the Yankees at all. He helped during the regular season, but he was absent in the postseason, and that's for the main reason we got him was to help in the postseason in terms of postseason hitting. Everything the Yankees did in terms of picking up players this season was for the postseason, and obviously it didn't work out. So the guy's really old. Can't even run to first base. It was definitely time to let him go.
How old is he? Do you know?
I think he's 36.
Yeah, I feel like he's been in the league forever.
He's got some age on him. And then I think the last part of the Yankees news was more just rumors. Garrett Cole. It's looking like he might be joining the Yankees. It's kind of hard to tell. He talked to a former Yankee. I think he talked to CeCe Sabathia, was it? Yeah. And CeCe Sabathia, he said he had a good talk with him. It seemed like that Garrett Cole's leaning towards the Yankees based off that talk. There's also rumors of him going to a West team. So again, we'll have to see about that. But some good news for Yankees fans if Cole decides to actually listen to CeCe and come play for the Yankees.
That'd be a very important addition for the Yankees, considering what their biggest struggle was. That's it for Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to I'll first start with the Mets and then kind of some of the award finalists. So Pete Alonso and Jacob deGrom are both up for awards. Pete Alonso, obviously Rookie of the Year. And I think he's probably getting some votes for MVP too, but he's not one of the finalists. I think it's kind of set in stone that Pete Alonso is going to be the NL Rookie of the Year. I mean, probably Fernando Tatis is second or something, but I don't think it's even close. The Jacob deGrom's up against Max Scherzer and Heejun Ryu. That's how you pronounce it. I don't think I'm just gonna say Ryu is gonna win. I think it's probably between DeGrom and Scherzer, considering Scherzer had such a great postseason, and obviously Jacob DeGrom's not in the postseason. For that, I want to say Jacob DeGrom, but I also don't want to jinx it. So we'll just leave it as I don't know. Then from there, the NL MVP finalists are Cody Bellinger, Anthony Rendon, and Christian Yelich. I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to be Anthony Rendon, or maybe it's not that obvious, but at least for me, I'd say that it's Anthony Rendon, considering he had an amazing season for the Nationals and led them to their first World Series. I don't think you can take any part of that away from him. And Christian Yelich was injured for a while, and Cody Bellinger obviously didn't lead the Dodgers anywhere in the playoffs. For the AL, I don't really know per se. To be honest, I don't know who Marcus Semien is. I've never heard of him. So I'm just going to put him as no. Between Alex Bregman and Mike Trout, Alex Bregman, I know, had a really good season. Mike Trout always has a good season. I feel like I'm more of a person for MVP that bases it off, if you have to base it off something, like the actual individual statistics. But in both cases, Mike Trout and Alex Bregman were pretty close. So I guess based off like success of their team, it would be Alex Bregman. So I'd say Alex Bregman would win the AL MVP. Other than that, I don't really want to go into the other award races. So I think that's basically it for baseball. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I actually had a question for you. You talked about what was the name? The pitcher, Ryu,
yeah.
Yeah. What happened to Yu Darvish? Is he still good?
Did you get that because it's Ryu and you?
Yeah, Yu.
He after he left his final season with the Cubs. I think he's on the Rangers now. No, he was on the Rangers. What team is he on? Is he still on the Cubs?
Was he on the Dodgers at some point?
Oh, he's still on the Cubs. Was he ever? No, he was never on the Dodgers.
Oh my God! Still watching the Vikings-Cowboys game, and Kyle Rudolph just made a tippy-toe one-hand stretch reach in the back of the end zone. Mm-hmm. That is going to be on SportsCenter for a while.
Was it an Odell Beckham-like catch?
It was pretty close to it.
Really? Okay, why is it not?
Wow, that's a very good catch. We'll see that later. But I don't know. I guess speaking of that, I guess we'll move on to the NFL.
Yeah, I can't find anything. Darvish is not as good as he used to be. We'll just say that.
Yeah. I guess we'll start off with the most important game of the week. The Jets for me and Brian. It was the Jets versus the Giants today. The Giants lost. As a Giants fan, I get more disappointed each week.
Why?
Start off with
a good team.
Jets won. The Jets won 34-27. I'll speak about it since I'm more the football guy, and then I'll let Brian give the Jets side after. I'll give my Jets side too. In terms of the Giants, pretty awful today. I can't put it into words how disappointed I am in this team. Each week we seem to just regress and regress. Saquon Barkley had 13 rushes for 1 yard. Our defense cannot tackle. He had 1 yard today.
Oh my God.
The play calling's bad. I'm at the point where I think we need to fire Pat Shurmur. We're tanking for a draft pick at this point. It's very upsetting. I feel like we have decent pieces. We just need to put it all together and maybe find the right coach. Same thing with the Jets at this point. Mm-hmm. Where I feel like the Jets have talent. It's just everything needs to be put together. Now, on the upside for the Giants, I'd probably say Darius Slayton, wide receiver, rookie out of Auburn. He's had a pretty good season throughout the entire season. He had a really good game today, over 100 yards. Really good game for him. On the Jets side, I got to say that Jamal Adams is the real deal. The fact that the Jets tried to trade him is ridiculous.
So
this man, I was single-handedly responsible for about 25 out of 34 of the Jets' points today. Whether it was actually scoring touchdowns, he had a play where he stripped Daniel Jones right out of his hand and kept going and ran for a touchdown, to just sacks and disrupting plays, putting the Jets in good field position. he single-handedly pretty much won the Jets this game. And also some really good play from Sam Darnold, making good decisions. I thought was another, highlight for them. But Jamal Adams, man, he is the real deal. They're talking about throughout the game how he's a generational type of player, and I definitely see that. You got to think about what year is he in? The third? His third year? I think he's in his third year now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how old he is, 26 at that point. Now he's probably like 25. Like he's going to have another solid 5 years in him.
He's 24.
He's 24. Yeah, this man is just entering his prime, and he's only going to. I can only see him getting better from here, and he's already a monster. So, you're a Jets fan. There's a lot to look forward to.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, my opinion. So basically, how I look at the rest of the season is just at the young talent and like individual play, and this game was definitely a good. I don't know what the right word, but you guys get what I'm saying. That Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams both had really good games. Basically, like the two most important pieces on the Jets right now. Sam Darnold, this is his first week without an interception since week 1, I think, was what I read. Yeah, and then he was making good decisions. He obviously didn't throw an interception like I just said. I mean, every part of the game, obviously they were up 14-0, and then they let that slip away, and then they were down going into the fourth quarter they were down?
Yeah, it was kind of a game where they went back and forth.
I think he had must have been like 13 unanswered points. So he was making really good decisions, and obviously Jamal Adams, like you said, had a really good game, which are two important things to watch for the rest of the season. Other than that, there's not much more for me to say.
Yeah. Also, just before I move off of this game, there's the Giants. I see Giants talk, a lot of people in the Giants circle talking about drafting Chase Young out of Ohio State, another edge rusher. I feel like the Giants D-line is as talented as you need right now. We need people who can cover. We need linebackers. We need more than that, because when you think about the Giants' defensive line talent, you have O'Shane Ximenez, pretty good linebacker out of Old Dominion. B.J. Hills, who's been solid. Dalvin Tomlinson, solid. Dexter Lawrence, solid. Sheldon Richardson, solid. Lorenzo Carter, solid. I mean, none of these players are overly amazing, but none of them are bad at the same time. And you have a group that I believe the Giants have a pretty solid group at defensive line. We need to not focus on that going into the draft, in my opinion. Maybe if you take Chase Young, I suggest trading some of those players. I don't even know who you trade. They're all like rookies, and they're all young, and they've all played pretty solid at some point. So
yeah.
I don't really know why you would take Chase Young. I could see the Giants doing it because, again, we don't have that superior pass rusher. Somebody like a Von Miller or an Aaron Donald, that really key piece player. But we have a solid group, almost like, a Patriots team would have, where you have a lot of good players, solid players, but nothing crazy. So, yeah, that's me. I don't know where I say dress O-line would probably be number one for me, or corners or linebacker, or, secondary. So, that's the Giants. Giants moved to 2-8. Jets moved to 2-7. So that's a Giants-Jets game. Pretty abysmal seasons for both New York teams, but Jets own New York as of right now.
Okay.
So I guess I'll go on through the games throughout the week. We have Raiders-Chargers on Thursday night. Raiders pull it out 26-24 over the Chargers. The Chargers moved to 4-6. The Raiders moved to 5-4. In terms of the Raiders, they've been really surprising this season with starting out the season with the Antonio Brown drama and having Jay Gruden as their coach. It's definitely been an interesting season for the Raiders. I think it surprised a lot of people that they're 5-4, that they're this good. Mm-hmm. Josh Jacobs out of Alabama has been such a talent for them. That was a really good draft pick by them. Between their drafting and I guess just the heart that they're playing with, they're kind of surprising a lot of people. Again, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. They're one of the teams that could, but I don't see them winning anything in the playoffs. But the fact that they're 5-4 right now is pretty impressive. For the Raiders moving to Las Vegas next year, it'd definitely be good for that franchise to have something to look forward to. Not just bring a crappy team into a new city. In terms of the Chargers, they've been pretty disappointing this season. Talked about how their defense has not really lived up to the hype. Their offense has been has been a little discombobulated. It seems like the Chargers might want to move off of Phillip Rivers going into next season. We'll have to see. So yeah, the Chargers moved to 4-6. Raiders 5-4. Next game, we had Chiefs Titans today. The Titans wound up upsetting the Chiefs 35-32. The Titans have been their usual selves so far. They're 5-5, mediocre as can be. Ryan Tannehill wins the game for them. They haven't really played Marcus Mariota too much since moving to Ryan Tannehill, although they have switched back, which is interesting. I don't really know what they're switched. Again, I talked about it. I don't know about their quarterback situation there, but they're going to have to move one of them. That would be advantageous for that team. The Chiefs have been falling pretty bad. I think I saw on one of the talk show hosts, and they always have those hot takes or whatever. I think his name is Nick something. I can't remember his name. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy Nick?
Yeah, I don't know his full name though.
Yeah, I sent it to Brian earlier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the Chiefs were not going to lose a game until next year, indicating that they would win the Super Bowl. Absolutely wrong. They lost this week. They moved to 6-4. I just feel like the Chiefs are really suffering defensively. They don't really have a lot of talent on defense, and they have Spagnuolo, or I can't forget how to pronounce his name. The Giant. Yeah, Spagnuolo. The Giants had him last year. He wasn't good. I don't know why the Chiefs took him, but he's not been great for them either. The way that Steve Spagnuolo's defense works, you need to have talent in certain spots, and similar to the Giants' defense, he doesn't have talent in those certain spots. I can't remember if it's linebacker or D-line you need talent in. I forget what he runs. I think he runs like a 3-4, but yeah, his system just doesn't work with the Chiefs, and the defense has been pretty bad. Mahomes is doing pretty good. We'll talk about him later, but it's not really Mahomes' fault, nor Andy Reid. So the Chiefs moved to 6-4. They definitely have to figure it out defensively moving on, or they're not going to get very far in the playoffs. Next game, we had the Buccaneers-Cardinals. The Buccaneers wound up taking it 30-27. Buccaneers, one of those teams that's been pretty wishy-washy. They've had really great games and really terrible games. Jameis Winston has not been great for them. He's very inconsistent. The Buccaneers moved to 3-6. The Cardinals, very young team. They're 3-6-1. As I said last week, they're a team that, although they're young, they've had a lot of good pieces. They've had a lot of good moments. They're one of those teams that is definitely going to get better going into next year. So if you're a Cardinals fan, compared to the season you had last season, this is not so bad. Don't panic. This is probably not going to be your season, but next season you guys could be a playoff team. So keep your hopes up. Moving on, the Browns moved to 3-6 with a win over the Bills. They won 19-16. The Browns are slowly finding themselves. I wouldn't say they've really made too many great improvements. They only won 19-16, but it was definitely a win that the Browns needed. We'll see where it goes from here. If they can continue to win, it would probably help Freddie Kitchens' job safety. He's pretty much on the hot seat at this point, so we'll see what happens there. I talked about, again, their issues with their ego and their lack of coaching. The Bills moved to 6-3. They started off the season really hot, and they've kind of cooled down since then. I still think the Bills are a pretty good team and could definitely find themselves in a playoff spot. Losing to a team like the Browns isn't the greatest, but it's not the end of the world. Hopefully they'll bounce back next week if you're a Bills fan. Moving on, the Ravens-Bengals. The Ravens wound up winning 49-13. Ravens moved to 7-2. Bengals moved to 0-9. In terms of the Bengals, they are officially the worst team in the NFL. They're 0-9. They've benched Andy Dalton. AJ Green's still out. No timeable return. They lack talent. They lack coaching. I really don't know what to say about that team. Just figure it out, man. Just figure it out. The Ravens at this point are probably the hottest team in football. They beat the Patriots last week. They dominated the Bengals this week. They're on a really good hot run. Lamar Jackson is a very special talent, and I'll get to him later as well. If you're a Ravens fan, in my opinion, you could definitely see the Ravens in the Super Bowl this year. This could definitely be their year. They have all the talent in the world. They have the coaching. We'll see what happens. I think in terms of having a lot more talent this year, the addition of Earl Thomas has been huge for them. It's really helped their secondary out a lot, and I'm sure Earl Thomas is a really good presence in the locker room. So that's part of the team part of the reason the team flipped around. Also that, Lamar Jackson has got better, and now that they've worked out some of the kinks, they're looking really good right now. Again, I expect the Ravens possibly to be in the Super Bowl. They'd have to beat the Patriots again. We'll have to see, but if I had to guess my conference championship right now for the AFC, I'd expect Ravens, Patriots, which the Patriots are on a bye this week. So, moving on, the Falcons wound up upsetting the Saints. They won 26-9. The Falcons moved to 2-7. The Saints moved to 7-2. If you're the Falcons, the season's still pretty abysmal. You're 2-7. The fact that you beat the Saints means, looking at it retrospectively as a Falcons fan, your team can win against tough teams. It's just something's got to change there. I'm not sure what it is. Possibly a coaching change. We'll see, as I said. If you're the Saints, I wouldn't panic. Everyone has their off weeks. Drew Brees just came back. And you put Teddy Bridgewater back in there? Probably not. Just kidding. Definitely would want to keep Drew Brees in there. I'd always stick with reliable personally.
Yeah.
Off week for the Saints. I wouldn't panic over it. Moving on, we had Bears-Lions. Bears won 20-13. The Bears moved to 4-5. The Lions moved to 3-5-1. In terms of the Bears, Mitch Trubisky is still holding them back, and he's at this point. Matt Nagy's been a solid coach. Their defense has been good. What the Bears lack currently is, number one, wide receiver talent and quarterback talent. If they can address those while bolstering their offensive line going into the next season, because again, with the state that they're in right now and the fact that Mitch Trubisky is not good enough of a quarterback to win anything significant, I don't see them winning anything this season. So, looking into next season, if they can address those things between the draft and maybe free agency, they could be one of those contending teams next year. Moving on to the Lions. The Lions started off the season pretty hot, and they've only done pretty bad since then. I don't want to say Matt Patricia's on the hot seat, but he hasn't really done anything as their head coach since I'm hiring him. We'll have to see what heads out. Matt Stafford was actually out today for the first time, I think, in his career, I want to say, with a back injury, so that was new. Moving on from that, we had the Dolphins and Colts game. The Dolphins wound up upsetting the Colts 16-12. The Dolphins moved to 2-7, putting them on a 2-game win streak. The Dolphins, I really don't know what the direction you want to go in. They keep swapping between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, and I don't think it's good for Josh Rosen. If you want to have him, you traded for him. You traded a decent amount for him. If you want him to be your franchise quarterback, you can't keep swapping him in and out. Either set him or don't. Let him learn or don't. Dolphins moved to 2-7. There's not much to look forward to this season, but 2-game win streaks, never bad. Moving on to the Colts, they're one of those. I think they're really suffering. Not having Andrew Luck, and now that Jacoby Brissett's out and Matt Hoy is your quarterback, or is Jacoby Brissett back today? I have no clue.
Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. One of those teams is struggling to find their identity. It's kind of tough when you have your franchise quarterback retire suddenly.
It's definitely true.
Yeah. So 5-4 is not bad. We'll see. Colts are one of those teams you're gonna have to watch. All teams that are sitting at 5-4 right now, you really don't know. It's a toss-up. To see, who gets hot, who fixes what. It's just a matter of time, and it's hard to predict those type of things. Moving on, the Steelers wound up beating the Rams 17-12. The Steelers, now they moved to 5-4. They've looked really good since trading for Micah Fitzpatrick, who's now had 5 interceptions to being traded to that team. I think in week 2 or 3 he got traded. He's now had 5 interceptions for them, so he's been very good for them. TJ Watt's been very good for them. They're a team that's on the rise. So, again, at 5-4, look out for them. They've been hot. So, playoffs possibly. On the opposite side, we have the Rams who fall to 5-4, and they're one of those teams, again, as they are 5-4, keep an eye out for them. But it's been a pretty bad look considering the fact that they just traded for Jalen Ramsey. They traded away all those first-round picks, banking on the fact that they could pick up their season if they just had secondary help, that, they could make it back to the Super Bowl. At this rate, it looks like they're not going to. We'll have to see if they can work out the kinks. I think they even subbed in Blake Bortles at some point tonight.
Really?
Yeah, so the Rams need to figure it out. They have the talent. I know Todd Gurley's arthritis has been really, or the pain that he's had in his knees has been really affecting him, but he's still a talented back. They still have a solid offensive line. They still have Cooper Kupp, who's been amazing this season as well as last season. Yeah. They still have Aaron Donald. They have Jalen Ramsey. they have the individual pieces there. They really just have to put it all together. Moving on from that, we had Packers-Panthers. Packers wound up scooping the win, 24-16. The Packers moved 8-2. As I said in past podcasts, that Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur are meshing pretty well right now. The defense has been pretty solid for them. They're one of those teams, along with the Ravens, that I could really see being like one of those secondary teams. In my opinion, Packers are probably the best team in the NFC right now. Maybe behind like the Seahawks. Yeah, it's been a pretty good season for the Packers. So they're one of those teams that you could see in the Super Bowl. Keep an eye out for them. And the other side of that, 5-4 Panthers. You know the rule with the 5-4 teams. Just keep an eye out for them. We'll see how they do. Christian McCaffrey's been amazing for them. With Cam Newton now being on the IR, looking at Kyle Allen, he's been very solid for them. He's kind of just been thrust into the starting spot. We'll have to see where they go from here, but it's obvious that Ron Rivera is a decent coach, and they have talent. Again, we'll have to see where they go. And the final game of the week, we have the Vikings and the Cowboys. We're currently playing right now. The Vikings are up 7-0 with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. The Vikings are a pretty solid team. Cowboys have been pretty good this season. They've definitely had their flaws, and so have the Vikings. I see them as pretty similar teams. Good teams, but they're not perfect. We'll have to see where they go from here. Cowboys could possibly win the NFC East, depending on how the Eagles do, and vice versa. If the Eagles can win, depending on the Cowboys do. And the Vikings have been pretty good. Dalvin Cook's been amazing for them this season. We'll see where they go. That is this week's football. Although tomorrow night we do have the Monday Night Football game. We have the Seahawks and 49ers, which is going to be a great game. Would definitely recommend watching that if you can. I'll be in calculus class, which kind of sucks. I would love to watch that game. So you have the 8-0 49ers. By technicality, the best team in football right now. And then you have the Seahawks 7-2. Russell Wilson most likely to win MVP. We'll see how that game goes out. But that is your NFL football game wrap up for the week. Any comments, Brian?
No. Keep going.
All right. Extending off of that, I just wanted to talk about, now that we're in week 9 of the season, or what are we, in week 10 now? Or we're in week 9? We're in week 10, right?
I think week 11.
I don't even know what week you consider this. Oh, we're in week 10. We're in week 10. Sorry. Yeah, I just looked. Now that we're week 10 left, there's 7 weeks left. We're, a little bit past half the season. I think we can start considering MVP candidates. I think we're about at that time. So the running is a small, I don't want to say small, but it's been narrowed down to a couple players, and I just wanted to name a few of them. So the first 2 players, which I'll have comments about them after, is going to be Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Those are your two players that are in consideration for MVP. Mm-hmm. You have your front runners right now, who are Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey, those are your group you have right there that are most likely to win MVP. One of those people will most likely win MVP. It's probably not going to be Christian McCaffrey because he's a running back, and the NFL just does not pick running backs for whatever reason. Although he's been extremely good this season, and considering the fact that he's been so good, you could probably throw Dalvin Cook in there, but neither of them are going to win. I don't really see Deshaun Watson winning either. I really don't know what to make of him. He's been solid throughout the year, but I just don't see him winning. Mm-hmm. To me, it's between Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is kind of behind right now with his ankle injury being out for the past couple weeks. And Russell Wilson is probably my favorite to win it. And I probably have Lamar Jackson number 2. Russell Wilson has been amazing this season. I think everyone could say that. But he's definitely a front runner. His team's winning games. He's playing really well. And Lamar Jackson, who's I wouldn't say statistically has been as good as Russell Wilson, but the things that he's been doing on the field are miraculous. So Russell Wilson, I think Lamar Jackson has definitely surprised a lot of people this season. He's improved so much off of last season. He was pretty solid last season. To me, Lamar Jackson is probably the most fun player to watch in the NFL right now. Statistically, he's been amazing. Running the ball, passing the ball. We've never seen a quarterback quite like him. closest we've seen is Mike Vick. But if you look at the statistics and you look how he's progressed from year 1 to year 2, I would say he's on path to be one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history if he can keep his pace up. And not only that, he's better than Michael Vick. Statistically, he's got a better QBR. He has more rushing touchdowns, more passing touchdowns, more passing yards. Lamar Jackson is the real deal, and I can no longer say he is just a running back. So that is my take on Lamar Jackson.
All right. Is that all the NFL stuff?
That is the NFL wrap-up for the entire week, yep.
I'll give Nick a little break here and get into the NBA. Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about. First off, I was just looking up the standings. The Warriors are in last place in the Western Conference. I wonder when that was.
Hell yeah, they are.
Time. They are 2-8. I mean, I'm not surprised that they're doing that bad, but when was the last time?
I'm so happy they're doing that bad.
You could see the Warriors all the way at the bottom there. I guess I'll start.
Before we move on, I just want to say, even though the Warriors are horrible, shout out to Eric Pascal, Villanova power forward. He's runner-up for Rookie of the Year right now, so that's a good look for him.
Okay. Wait, who's
power forward? He grew up in Terrytown, which is a couple towns over from me and Brian. Yeah, and then he went to some private schools up there, but he did his first year at Fordham.
Oh, wow.
Fordham University, and then he transferred to Villanova after that. Just like me. I didn't go to Fordham, but the transfer part, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
So I guess I'll start with the Knicks. The Knicks are also last place, but in the Eastern Conference. But for the Knicks, I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but they've really only had 2 really bad games, and then the other games, it's just obvious that they're missing that 1 or 2 players that could make that clutch shot later, keep their lead. It seems like they always get into these funks where they have no one to go to on offense and just either have a lead for a little bit and then they can't do anything else and the other team comes back, obviously. Currently, Frank Ntilikina played really well last game and is playing good today as well. Am I on the Frank train? Definitely not. Do I think people are getting on the Frank train? Yes. I think they're overhyping one really good game that he had. It was a really good game. He played really good defense. That's always been Frank's thing. And then he was able to pass the ball really good, and he shot very well as well. I think if he continues, that would be awesome, but I don't see that happening. He got the start tonight, which is good. Get him more playing time, see if it's actually the real deal, but I don't think it's going to be. Other than that, R.J. Barrett continues to play well. The one big thing that's becoming even a bigger issue than I thought it'd be is their free throw shooting. No one on the team knows how to shoot free throws, it seems. I think Taj Gibson might be the only one, and he misses clutch free throws as well. I think last game, it was last game, they're up, by 3 points or something, and they got fouled with 30 seconds left, and they missed both free throws, allowing, who are they playing? The Mavericks. Allowing the Mavericks to stay in the game. Going off of that, obviously the Knicks played the Mavericks, who has Kristaps Porzingis now, the Knicks' former all-star, or whatever you want to call him. He looked very good against the Knicks. He's looked okay this season so far. Obviously, his ACL injury is still holding him back, I think. It was really hard watching him on the court playing for another team because, for those that know me, Kristaps was my favorite player for any sport or anything, and then when they traded him, it all vanished, and I had to deal with him not being on the Knicks anymore. But off of that, what else is going on in the NBA? James Harden is playing very well, which I'm sure Nick can touch on, but I'll keep going and then I'll let Nick touch on that. Some of the other good players, Damian Lillard is continuing to play well, so is Kyrie Irving with the Nets, but the Nets are, I think they're 4-4, so
yeah.
5-4 maybe? Whatever. One of those. So they're having an okay season. You'd think after the last season they had, they'd be playing better, but it's also the beginning of the season.
Going off of that, I want to sneak in right here.
You do that sneaking.
just so you don't have to ramble off who's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to go through the stats leaders at this point in the season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're 9-10 games into the season, so I think we're at the point where we can start having stats leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not MVP talk. I've talked about this. No MVP talk, but stats leaders. So you know, offensively, James Harden leads the league in points per game. He has 1.1 points per game,
Jeez.
which I believe would be the most points per game in the common era of basketball. Next, I think Michael Jordan, that might be above Michael Jordan's. I think he had close to 37.
I think it was like
at this,
35, 36.
Yeah, at this rate, James Harden will average more than 40 points per game throughout the season. You know, starting off the season, he was averaging 50% from the 3-point line, and he's kind of increased that over the past couple games.
Is he like shooting a lot, or is he just making a lot of them?
Yeah, he's not shooting well from the 3-point line because people are playing him on his hip and on his side, and you know, not letting him have the step back. So I don't know why. I guess it hasn't really been working for him. He practiced on like that side step. I don't know if you've seen that in the news media, but he's been practicing on the side step, and I don't think he was shooting a good percentage with it, so he kind of just threw it out. But
I don't know why.
I think it would be effective. He's reluctant to drive because how teams are playing him is they're playing him on his hip. They're forcing him to drive, and they'll have a big closeout on him and try to meet him at the rim, and we'll have somebody come play help on Clint Capella, who's usually sits on the baseline, and will come up for like an oop or a pass. So the Rockets just got to figure it out on that standpoint, although they've been playing pretty well. I have James Harden. It's a little bit of a Rockets rundown. We're currently at 6-3, and I think we're like third in the West. We're third in the West, so we're doing all right. But yeah, James Harden. I'll go top 3 in terms of stats leaders for every single stat, just to get a feel for who's doing well and who's who's doing well. Yeah. So stats leaders, you have James Harden at number 1 slot for points per game at 37.1 points. Number 2, you have Damian Lillard. He's at 33.3, and then Kyrie Irving is at 31.9. And Giannis is at 29.1, and then Kawhi Leonard's at 29. Those are like your big guys for points per game. In terms of assists, LeBron's ahead of the pack at 10.5 assists per game. Number 2 is Luka Doncic at 9.1. 3 is Malcolm Brogdon. I'm just going to do all 5, top 5. You have 9 assists per game from Malcolm Brogdon for the Pacers. He just joined the Pacers this season. Number 4, we have James Harden, 8.2 assists per game. I mean, Ricky Rubio at 5, and he just joined Phoenix this season. He has 8.1 assists per game.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
So is Malcolm Brogdon, too.
Yeah, so those are your points assists. In terms of defensive stats, Andre Drummond's number 1 in rebounding at 18 rebounds. So number 2 is, surprisingly, Kevin Love.
He's averaging 18 rebounds?
Kevin Love's averaging 14.1 rebounds per game. 18 rebounds is a lot, though.
Jesus Christ.
Man, Giannis is tied at number 2. He's kind of 3 at 14.1 rebounds per game. Number 4, we have Hassan Whiteside. I don't know why I couldn't say that. 13.3 rebounds per game. And then rounding that out, you're going to have Rudy Gobert at number 5, and he's at 13 rebounds per game. In terms of blocks, Jonathan Isaac, who's been a defensive stud since they entered the league for the Magic, he's at 3.11 blocks per game, which is insane. 3 blocks a game is really good. Right behind him is Anthony Davis, joining the Lakers this season, 3 blocks per game. Third is Kristaps Porzingis, 2.63 blocks per game. He's trash. We got Daniel Theis. I don't even know who that is. Apparently he plays for the Celtics, 2.29 blocks per game. And then rounding out the blocks, we have Brook Lopez at 2.22 blocks per game. And then finally, we have steals leader. Number 1, kind of surprising, Ben Simmons, 3 steals per game right now. I know he's always been solid defensively, but 3 steals a game for someone his size. So when you're smaller, it's a lot easier to get steals. But when you're that tall, it's definitely harder to get steals. So all props to him. That's all technique right there. Number 2, we have Chris Dunn, who, in my opinion, should be the leader for Rookie of the Year right now. Sorry, that's a different. Yeah. That's Nunn, isn't it? That's like Nunn. My bad. Chris Dunn plays for Chicago. Yeah. So he's at 2.2 steals per game. We have Kawhi Leonard, of course, at 2.14 steals per game at the number 3 slot. 4, Drew Holiday, 2 steals a game. And then Matisse Thybulle, I've always struggled with his first name. He just got drafted. He's with the 76ers. They drafted him strictly to be a defensive type of guy. And the fact that he's top 5 in steals right now is a good sign for the 76ers. He has 2 steals per game at the 5 slot. Mm-hmm. So those are your big stats in terms of NBA right now.
One thing I did want to discuss. Well, do you have anything else with the stats?
No, go ahead.
I saw. Did you see the thing with Anthony Davis. So they were playing the Bulls, and Anthony Davis is from Chicago, and one of the reporters asked him, "So are you going to go to the Chicago at some point in your career or something like that?" And he said, and Anthony Davis, instead of saying the usual "I'm on the Lakers right now, that's all I can think about," he said, "Well, I am a free agent next season, so you never know." That's not good at all. I mean, you're supposed to show loyalty to your team, and the fact that he was willing to just do that. I mean, the Lakers are having a 7-1 so far. They're having a really good season. I don't know what you can take from that. That could just be straight stupidity, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I don't think Anthony Davis should have said that. At the same time, he could just be joking. I wouldn't speculate too much on it.
Mm-hmm.
If the Lakers win the NBA championship this year, I really can't see him going anywhere else but the Lakers. And as I said, preseason, Lakers were my pick for the NBA championship this year before losing to Marcus Cousins. And the fact that they're 7-1 only stands to attest that. Number one, they have really good talent in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but they also have great role players.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Caruso's been playing out of his mind off the bench. Beyond that, you got a lot of talent, a lot of key role players. So Lakers are hot, and I really can't see Anthony Davis leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right now there's no reason, but that was one of the stupider things I've heard a player say.
Mm-hmm.
Considering what team he's on with LeBron James. Is there anything else you want to discuss NBA-wise?
Yeah, just the last part about it. I guess just to discuss injuries. The most recent injury was Gordon Hayward last night, fractured his hand. Apparently tomorrow we're going to see if it requires surgery or not. He could be out for the entire season potentially, or he could be out for a couple weeks to a month. We'll have to see. But Gordon Hayward, coming off that gruesome ankle injury that he had at the beginning of last season, he was doing pretty well at the beginning of the season. But with this injury, we'll have to see where it goes. But upsetting, especially for Celtics fans and people that want to not see people get injured. Practically, I'd hope everyone, but so he's out for X amount of time. We'll have to see. Another news: Stephen Curry, who broke his hand, supposed to be out 3 months to 4 months. Apparently, he might not come back this season. So, going off where you said the Warriors have been pretty far behind, it looks like they're not going to get much better. Klay Thompson looks like he's not going to play for this. If Klay Thompson's not going to play for the season, and Stephen Curry's on the verge of coming back around playoff time, and the Warriors are not going to make the playoffs at that point.
There's no reason for.
I really don't see Stephen Curry coming back. He might just sit the entire season.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Cousins is banged up, so the Warriors have been defeated this season. Not necessarily because they've lost all the talent, but the injuries have been really killing them.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't think there's any significant injuries. We should see the return of Zion Williamson soon.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we had some technical difficulties, but also in terms of draft stocks right now, I know this isn't huge, but James Wiseman, who you did a piece on, you guys should go check that out. He's number one stock right now. We have Anthony Edwards, Cole Anthony, LaMelo Ball. Those are the top 5 picks right now in terms of the NBA going to 2020 NBA draft. So keep an eyes out on those guys. So that's kind of NBA news, kind of transferring into college news. Do you have anything else to say about the NBA?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right, so transitioning to college. I guess we'll start off with just Villanova news. Our basketball team wound up defeating Army almost nearly by 40 points. We're 1-0 now for our basketball team, and our football team won 35-28 against Richmond this Saturday, which I was at the game absolutely freezing. We moved to 7-3 there. Basketball's starting to heat up. We've had some. I think we had a game against Duke and Kansas. I want to say it was the game. I don't know. It's too early to start speculating on who's going to win what, but yeah, the basketball season has kicked off. I'm going to give it a few games before I start commenting, especially in college basketball. It's so, year to year, you just never know. So we'll have to see where teams wind up ending up. But, just to let you know, college basketball started. Moving on, pretty big college football weekend this weekend. In terms of the games, there's a couple of good games. Ohio State wound up beating UMass Lowell 76-56, which is just ridiculous. I mean, can we play some defense, please? Oh, never mind. That was basketball.
Yeah, that's why.
I was looking at the wrong section. My bad. I was gonna say that's ridiculous. I didn't even. Why did I not see this game? How come I can't see the games now? Okay, here we are. I don't know why I was struggling to see that. Clemson won 55-10. You guys know I normally keep like tracks on like the top 5 people. Florida won 56-0. He still remains at the 10 slot, so we'll see where they go. In terms of the other big games, we had actually 2 huge games this weekend, which I don't see any other games. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the 2 huge games. The first of the 2, we had Penn State versus Minnesota. Penn State's been really hot as of late. They were 8-0. They wound up falling to Minnesota, the 17th seed team. Some seeds they were 13 I've seen, but officially 17th seed. So Minnesota moves to 9-0 and Penn State moves to 8-1. Who knows where Penn State's going to end up on the polls? But it looks like they're at the 5 slot right now. We'll have to see how Minnesota does. So Minnesota, if they continue to win, they could find themselves at the 4 slot in the playoffs. They'd have to win by a lot, but in terms of like the rest of the games for the rest of the season. But again, Minnesota, the fact that they beat Penn State kind of puts them in playoff contention now. We'll have to see where that goes. And the biggest game of the weekend, and possibly the biggest game of all of college football this season, we had LSU versus Alabama. Huge rivalry, Louisiana versus Alabama. Louisiana wound up pulling the game out 46-41. I watched that game; it was pretty incredible. Both teams fought tooth and nail to the end. LSU, I think this really should move them up to the 1 slot, even though it looks like they're sitting at the 2 slots. So, Alabama loses; they're currently at the 3 slot, I think, but. We'll have to see. Again, the rankings shift constantly. We'll have to see where they go. Alabama's still a great team. They really can't knock anything off. They have to win out at this point, and hope that LSU wins it all, which is, it's likely that could happen. So we'll have to see where that goes. In terms of the college rankings that we have so far, so for the college football playoffs rankings, we have Ohio State number 1, LSU number 2, Alabama 3, Penn State 4, Clemson 5. Georgia has worked his way back into the 6th slot. In terms of the AP poll, we have LSU at number 1, which I agree with that. Alabama at 2, which it's possible. I'd probably move Ohio State into the 2 slot. Ohio State is at 3, though. We have Clemson at 4. Again, I would put them in the 3 slot. I'd probably move Alabama to the 4 slot, Georgia at the 5, and Penn State at the 6. But the actual rankings, just to clear that all up, in terms of the AP poll, we have LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Penn State, Georgia, in that order. Games are heating up. College football playoffs are around the corner now, about a month away. We'll see where that goes.
All right.
That's your college football rundown for the week.
Yeah. Okay, before we get into our controversial topic, do we want to talk about the Logan Paul fight?
Oh, we could talk about the Logan Paul thing.
Okay. Are you familiar? Do you understand boxing at all? Do you get the rules?
Somewhat of the rules, yes.
Okay, because I don't at all. But I have to say I am a Logan Paul fan. I didn't want to admit that, but I do watch some of his videos. So I was rooting for Logan Paul. Obviously, last night was Logan Paul versus KSI. Logan Paul is a big American YouTuber. KSI is a big United Kingdom YouTuber, I guess you'd consider it. And they were having their rematch of their fight last year, and KSI ended up winning. It's kind of controversial, so we can talk about that and then get into our controversial topic. Do you have any opinions on the...
Sure, yeah. I actually watched the fight last night on pay-per-view.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so just to start off, neither of these guys can box. They're both horrible. Logan Paul is nothing else but a jab, and if you watch KSI fighting, he throws overhead punches. It looks like he's almost like Michael Phelps swinging. It was a pretty horrible boxing match. But beyond that, so again, I'm not 100% sure on boxing rules. I am somewhat of a fan of boxing. I've never really followed it too much. But how the rules work is you get points allocated for certain things. I think whether you land like a jab or like a hook can be certain points of where you land. Hits. Mm-hmm. You get points for hits and you get points for missed punches. Stuff like that. I think depending on how you hit them, points for like a KO or a TKO technically. If you fall on the ground, you get points for that. In terms of the rules, if you're up against somebody and you're hugging them, in that sense, you can't be throwing punches. So I think you get deducted points for stuff like that. There was a point last night where everyone's talking about how Logan Paul lost 2 points which I think was totally fair. He landed like an uppercut to KSI's chin, knocked him down. And as I was falling to the floor, I think he may have been trying to get back up, but Logan Paul held his head down and kept uppercutting him to the head, which, in my opinion, easily lose 2 points for that. So it makes sense. I thought the fight was really interesting because KSI was obviously not the better boxer, but Logan Paul won.
You mean KSI won?
Yeah, my bad. Reverse that real quick. Yeah, Logan Paul, better boxer. KSI won.
Yeah.
We also have a third rematch, but I don't know. I can see Logan Paul if he really wants to. If he keeps working on it, he could be a semi-professional boxer at some point. I'm not saying he's going to be one of the greats, but KSI looks like he's probably done after this.
Yeah.
That's about my take. I thought Logan Paul was a better boxer, but he seemed to not want to throw punches or anything else but the jabs, so he wound up losing the fight. So your opinion, thoughts?
Yeah. So for some reason, I was like really into it, and when Logan Paul ended up losing, I was like kind of like actually annoyed, like how if like the Mets lost, I'd be annoyed. But like, what was I gonna say? He said that he was like sick, and which I think are all excuses, to be honest. And
that's a lame excuse.
Yeah. Now the 2-point deduction. Obviously, I'm not that familiar with boxing, but they were saying that he didn't get a warning at all about it, and I feel like a 1-point deduction would have made more sense, considering like a 2-point deduction is like a pretty big deal. I think it's like the round that he won, all the judges gave him the round, and it would have been 10-8 if it wasn't for that, and it ended up being 8-8, 8-8. I don't know what it is, but if they would have taken off only 1 point, they would have drawn it again. So I'm kind of still annoyed about it because like I just don't like KSI. He seems like such an asshole, if I'm being honest. But other than that, that's all I have to say.
It's interesting because if you watch that fight, neither of them really knew boxing rules. The ref kind of constantly remind them. Yet I think this was a professional fight. Like I think after this, they both have records. I think Logan Paul's 0-1 and KSI's 1-0 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a professional fight, yet both of them don't know the boxing rules. I don't know. It's just a little interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of just still butthurt, so I'm just making excuses too.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. In the day, this fight really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it was a weird. It's a weird thing because neither of them know how to box. It's technically a professional boxing match, yet they still are learning the rules.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
Sure, I guess.
Let us know what you guys think about it in the comments, though.
Yeah. Sure. So I guess we'll get into our controversial topic. I'll let you take this one since it's more.
Sure. This controversial topic probably hits home more than any other controversial topic we've ever had. So me and Brian come from the same hometown, Eastchester, New York, and our high school wound up firing one of our football coaches this past couple weeks ago. His name is Mike Sadu. Just to give a little bit of background on the situation, it's still kind of blurry. Apparently, so the situation goes like this: Coach Sadu, he's been there for quite some time now, a couple of years, I think 2-3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a part of the teaching staff there, teaching the kids for special needs. He does DJ. I don't want to get into his personal matters, but he does DJ. He does DJing, and he does it more so for the camps. That's how I know about it because I work the camps in our hometown. So he was involved with that. Essentially, he's been a pretty good coach ever since he's came in. But even before that, I also just want to say this man, in terms of like football, he wound up playing for Wesley College, Division III team, but he was really good there. He was All-American, and he went on to play for the Panthers at one point. He never really made it off the practice squad, but the fact that he even got invited onto the practice squad says a lot about your talents and your determination as a football player, especially coming from a D3 school. So, essentially, he's been coaching for the past couple of years, as I said. This is apparently, towards the end of the football season, he said something to another coach or a kid, who really knows what it was. We can only really speculate about what he said. Also, just to say this, he is African American, so it wasn't anything racist. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that would make no sense. Yeah. Whatever he said, I just feel this. he's been a great coach. He's been a great mentor. Even though I never had him as a coach personally, he always motivated me more. We'd run sprints. He'd always encourage me, let's run Horvath. He'd run alongside me because I was the slowest player on the team. Great guy, great coach, and I just think, not to get too political, but I think it's just part of this cancel culture that we have nowadays, that somebody messes up once and they have to get fired and something needs to be done. At the end of the day, I just feel like judge this man off of his entire character, not one moment. All the players loved him. A lot of the town loves him. Kids in the high school, one of the kids in the high school who's going to be the quarterback probably for Eastchester next year, Christian D'Agostino. He started a petition. If you guys want to go sign it online, it's on change.org. I'm not sure the link, but just to get him his job back. If you guys could sign him, that would be awesome. We're trying to get to 1,000 signatures because, again, he's been a really good part of the football team and the town as a whole. The judgment possibly off of one mistake would be absolutely ridiculous. I don't think there's anything in this world that he could have said that should have got him fired, especially when, from what I understand, it was the heat of the moment within a football game or something like that. It was something, for the kids that he was fighting for the team. I just think it's ridiculous, and I really think I'm disappointed in Eastchester for this decision. I'm not exactly sure who made the decision, whether it was superintendents or the principal of the high school. But, very disappointed in Eastchester for this. You have any thoughts on it, Brian?
Obviously, I didn't play football, so I don't have that big of a relationship to it, but it does, like what you said about the cancel culture, which is a very big problem. It depends what he did say, but if he was fighting for the kids, there's no way that it was anything so bad that he deserved to be fired, especially since it was a one-time thing, and like you said, he has a very good history with the school and everything that he does for the town. So I definitely agree with you that it seemed like they kind of went overboard with what they did. I don't really know why the first thing they go to is firing him.
Yeah. What about a suspension?
Yeah. So he lost his actual job too, right?
I'm assuming.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's hard to tell from everything, but I'm assuming that's what it is. It's he was such a big motivator for the team. He was one of those coaches that after our regular high school coach retired, I don't really want to bring him into this because he's not a part of it, I assume. I don't want to say his name on air. People look up on the internet if they're actually going to watch this, but Coach Sado, he's such a fiery passion for the game. And he motivated everybody across from JV to varsity. Again, he was a JV coach, and he motivated varsity players to play better. He motivated everybody just to play better and put their all and put their passion and everything. When everyone would be done running their mile, he'd push everybody to run a second mile just to be that much better. That type of coach. He worked your ass off, but it was all out of love and all about a passion for football. So, I really hope that Eastchester can bring him back and do the right thing and bring him back.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I guess that's it for this week's podcast. Nick, you have any parting words for our lovely fans out there?
Sure. Again, just if you guys could sign that petition.
I'll link it in the YouTube description. So
all right. Thank you for doing that, Brian. Beyond that, I guess just no more remarks. This podcast is a work in progress. We're trying to make it better and better each week. It's almost Thanksgiving, so I should have some extra time around then. I really want to start making some videos for the Instagram. I hope I can at some point. It's a combination of me having a lot of work and me just being lazy as hell. But so yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, leave it down in the comments below. You can contact me at nicholas.horvath10@yahoo.com and my email. You can find my Instagram at nick.horvath and also my Twitter handle at nickhorvath61. Hope to see you guys next week. We had a pretty good interview with John Axel Mumminson, right? Did we ever get the one from the WNBA Knicks?
No, I think it's next week. Because they just started everything, so she doesn't really have time right now.
Yeah. So, is she WNBA? No, she's just Westchester next, but she's a female coach, right? First female coach.
Yeah, she played WNBA.
So look out for that. I guess thank you guys for listening. I'll hand it over to Brian.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to do some logistical stuff at the end of this. So we have some new people joining the team. I haven't really told Nick all about this, but we have 2 new writers right now and 4 kids from my current school that are interested in writing / doing other things for TheSportUniverse. So that's exciting. We'll keep you updated on all that. There's 2 new articles from 2 of our new writers up on our website, so if you want to go check those out. I read them. They're both very good. Other than that, if you're interested in helping us out, that would be great. Email us at TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com.
Yeah, please message us. Please message us.
Yes.
Again, like, anybody that's, like, graphic designer, like, wants to, set up, like, a really cool Instagram or anything that's, like, design or, like, YouTube content creation, like, if you want to be a part of this, it'd be such a big part for you. Again, we can't pay you. We're not making money off of this right now. But, it's something that's, if you really want to slap something on a resume and be a part of something, we could really use somebody like that. As well as, again, if you're interested in sports, absolutely would love to have you too. I'm just saying, like, that. I think that's one of our biggest needs. So if you have any interest in that, you could really be, like, a really big part of, like, helping us take off.
Yeah, which would be very exciting. So we'll be back next week with another podcast, obviously. Post daily content on YouTube. So keep watching that stuff. Keep subscribing. Keep following us. Other than that, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.